Howdy, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Today I have a build breakdown of my Cannondale CAAD13 for you, as a few people commented on my last video requesting it. So we're just going to go over the build spec of the bike, what I like about it, what I might not like so much about it, and what I would change. If you enjoy the video, please consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribing. It does help as a smaller channel that's trying to grow. So to go over the factory specs first, the bike is a 58 centimeter CAAD13. The CAAD is an aluminum frame with a carbon fiber fork and carbon fiber seat post that comes equipped with Shimano 105 Di2. So that's 12-speed electronic shifting and hydraulic disc brakes. This is my bike exactly set up how I would ride it on the road, minus the water bottles. And in this build spec, it weighs 19.7 pounds, which for a large aluminum framed bike, that's pretty solid in this day and age. So I've had this bike for about 9 months so far, and I've really enjoyed it. I haven't changed too much about the build spec from factory, but there are a couple of changes that we can highlight today. My other bike, my Rock Lobster, has 11-speed Di2, but it is a mix of Ultegra and Dura-Ace. And while you don't miss much going to 105 Di2, you do lose one of my favorite features, which are the buttons at the top of the shifter hoods. 105 Di2 doesn't have these buttons, and I will be honest, I've missed them a touch. On my Rock Lobster, I have them programmed to control my bike computer, and it's really nice being able to do that without taking your hands off the bars. Otherwise, 105 Di2 has been phenomenal. If you look at the front derailleur on the 105 Di2, it actually is mechanically exactly the same as the prior generation Dura-Ace and Ultegra Di2 derailleur, whereas the Dura-Ace and Ultegra 12-speed derailleurs have gotten an upgrade, making them significantly smaller, lost some weight, and some claimed aerodynamic gains. The chain rings it comes with is a compact setup, so a 50-tooth large chain ring and a 34-tooth small chain ring with an 11:34 cassette on the rear. That gives me quite the climbing ratio for a road bike, with a 1:1 at the lowest end. And I really haven't had too many issues with spinning out the 5011, though it does sometimes happen when I'm going down some steeper or longer hills in Austin. The only change I've made to the group set so far is gone to Dura-Ace rotors and brake pads. After a ride I did in November that had a lot of climbing into sitting, I had pretty much cooked the stock rotors and pads, so I swapped those out and haven't had any issues with these ones. I do think the Dura-Ace rotors are some of the best looking disc rotors out there. Even if they didn't perform better than stock, I'd probably throw them on just about every bike that I have because they look so good. One thing I've noticed with the 12-speed Di2 is that the chain does tend to wear a little bit quicker than the 11-speed that I have on my other bike. I checked the chain at about 2,000 miles and it was already pretty worn, so I went ahead and swapped it. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that checking interval right around that 1,800 to 2,000 mile mark, just so that I don't wear out my other components prematurely, whereas on 11-speed I was seeing more like 3,000 miles per chain. Oddly enough, within 2 months of owning this bike, the lower pulley wheel on my rear derailleur had sheared off multiple teeth, but after contacting the Shimano rep, I ended up getting that warranted super easily, and I think I received the replacement pulley wheels within about 2 or 3 days. I run Dura-Ace SPD SL road pedals. The stock tires that come on this bike and on most bikes are pretty horrible. They're the Vittoria Rubino Pros, and I had already worn through the rubber casing on my rear tire after about 2,600 miles. So I've swapped to Continental GP 5000s, still in a 25 millimeter width, which I would prefer to be on a wider tire, but these stock wheels are relatively narrow by modern standards, and a 28mm wouldn't be the most ideal of fit for them. Continental GP 5000s are some of my favorite tires. They've really been the only road tire that I've made the choice to buy for the past 5 years or so. They are fast enough to race on, durable enough to train on, and never have any issues with grip. Speaking of these wheels, I have taken the decals off, but the rims are DT Swiss DBR470s, I believe, which are a super common stock rim for modern disc bikes. I'm not a huge fan of them. They are extremely heavy, especially for how narrow and shallow they are. I have these tires set up with Pirelli TPU tubes. TPU tubes are considerably lighter than butyl or latex tubes and have about the same rolling resistance as your standard butyl tube. I think I measured each one of these tubes as weighing about 33 grams, which is pretty insane considering your average butyl tube is about 110 to 120. I appreciate Cannondale sending me this matching floor pump for my bike. I am about 75 kilos and run my tubes right around 85 PSI or 6 bar. Ideally, my next upgrade on this bike would be to move to a set of Cannondale's hologram wheels, probably a 45 or 50 millimeter depth. They are considerably wider internally and externally. They're considerably deeper and considerably lighter than these wheels. I have ran road tubeless before, but I think on such a narrow rim, I'd prefer to run tubes. Once I move to something like the hologram with a 21 millimeter internal and a 32 millimeter external, that's when I would consider running road tubeless again. Though I do want to upgrade the bike to a Super 6 Evo once the spec I'm interested in comes back in stock, so I might hold off until then. I am a Cannondale fan. I think a lot of it comes down to the EF education team. A lot of the stuff they do is really cool in my opinion, between the alternate calendar, the kits that they do, and just a lot of riders on their team. A big gripe I have with a lot of 58 centimeter bikes is that they're coming with 44 centimeter wide handlebars. So I have moved to a 42 centimeter bar, and really I'm thinking about going even narrower in the future. My shifter hood angle might not be UCI compliant, but that's fine. I'm not racing any UCI races at this point, hopefully in the future. The bike has 175 millimeter crank arms on it. That is something that I would prefer to downsize a bit, though I think I will wait until my next bike to do so. I have slightly odd proportions with a longer torso and shorter legs than the average person. So even on this bike, my saddle to bar drop isn't super aggressive. I'd like to get down to a shorter crank arm so I can open up that hip angle a touch, raise the saddle height, and have a little bit more drop. The bike also comes with a 110 millimeter stem. I have changed that to a Zip Service Course SL 120 millimeter stem, just to get my fit a little bit more in line with my preferences. The Zip stem did add 3 grams over the Cannondale stem that I swapped it out with, but getting a proper fit is worth far more than those 3 grams. I can't remember what saddle the bike comes with stock. I think it's a Pro Logo, but I swapped it out for a Specialized power saddle, just like on my Rock Lobster. It's the saddle I run on every bike. Since I swapped to it, I haven't had any issues with ride discomfort or numbness, and so sticking with the tried and true solution. My bottle cages are mismatched, the front being an Arundel mandible cage, probably the best bottle cage of all time. Super light with an extremely tight fit for the bottle. The rear is a standard plastic cage. The front one was given to me, and I just can't justify spending the $80 on another to match, at least at this time. I run a Wahoo Element Bolt as my bike computer. I really prefer it to the standard Element or Element Roam. The form factor and size is far more attractive in my opinion. Currently, I have the Zip Service Course bar tape on it. I like it. I kind of go back and forth with the Service Course and the Service Course CX, Before I threw this on, I didn't think I would like it as much as I do. It feels good for a road bike bar tape. I run a small Lezyne saddlebag under my seat, and in it I have a CO2 with a CO2 inflator. I run a single lightweight butyl tube, a single Pedro's tire lever, and a Lezyne multi-tool. That is my Cannondale CAAD13. Let me know in the comments how you like it, what you would do differently. I appreciate you stopping by and checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.